Welcome into the Dad Verb podcast. Topics around parenting from the lens of a dad.
Take number 2. We started recording this podcast, and then Ben's like, "Hey, you should do our Huckberry shout out at the beginning." And then I got tripped up, and I didn't play the intro, and I was like, "I don't know what to do."
We did not do it well. I swear we're professionals.
We might upload the outtake. It might be a thing that just goes live, and you'll be like, "What is this?
What am I doing? Am I supposed to press the button?" Thank you to Huckberry for sponsoring the Dad Verb podcast, guys. Before we get into this topic of dads just showing up, it's an underrated currency. It's an underrated value. Did I say currency? I mean, it's an underrated thing for dads to just show up. We're going to dive in on that. What does that mean? How does it apply to you? But first, Huckberry. Ben, how you feeling about Huckberry sponsoring us?
Good. Awesome. I love the fact that Huckberry sponsors us because I get stuck on their site for hours just looking for new things that I want. So if you guys don't know about Huckberry, it's just a one-stop men's shop. It's got everything that dads need. I'm wearing their American heavyweight tee from Flint and Tinder. I've been obsessed with the stretch selvage denim also from Flint and Tinder because they're super comfortable and they look really good. And if you know anything about denim, selvage is the primo. And they've actually sold those out like multiple times. Every time I go back to order another pair, they're literally gone every single time. So if that gives you any indication on how popular they are, how comfortable they are, and the good quality, that right there, I think the proof is in the sellouts, the constant sellouts. So we've had a lot of good gear sent over by them. Everything's been great. We've loved all of it. So really appreciate them sponsoring the podcast. And if you guys are looking for anything, we'll throw a link down in the show notes.
Wow.
There we go. Throw a link down in the show notes.
It'll be down
you
there
guys to go check it out. It'll be down there somewhere. Look for the letters and numbers.
You were going so well.
It was so smooth,
well.
man. One take wonders, right? Let's jump into it, guys.
Nailed it.
Let's jump into it. Guys, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to know everything. We just have to be there. We just have to show up, right? It's an underrated thing. We feel like we need to bring so much to the table, but at the end of the day, just being present speaks volumes and does so much at teaching your kids. Now, this is a topic that Saunders kind of brought to the table, and I wanted to give him kind of first word. What do you think here, man?
So this came up. So I was sliding through Instagram on the reels, as you do, killing time. And there's a famous Instagram reel now about some girl who brought a pineapple to her mother or to her sister-in-law's house. And the sister-in-law got all upset that there was a pineapple at her housewarming because if you know anything about alternative adult culture, pineapples are symbols for things. And if you want to know, Google it. I'm not going to expose it on this podcast.
I really like to get to know your neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. And so the sister-in-law got really upset. And she lost it and she didn't understand. And that led me to, well, you didn't have to bring a gift. You could have just shown up. And I take it for granted that I do this, right? But recently I've been going to my first cousin once removes football games. Okay. I've only known this kid as effectively an adult. He's 14, 15 now. Right. He's my cousin's kid. But it's a Friday night. I'm in a small town in Iowa. He's less than an hour away. I grab the girls. We go to the football games. We hang out. We have a burger. We have water. My kids are now hanging out with his grandparents, my cousins, getting to know the family, right? And there's just something that's developing in our relationship for the mere fact that I'm showing up, right? And then it went one step further when my dad was like, you don't need to go to Texas for your sister's baby being born. And I'm like, Dad, yeah, I do. Like, I'm her brother. I'm her older brother. Like, I just need to show up. And it led me to, I actually wrote an article on my Medium account about this whole thing and the psychology behind it. If you want to go look it up, it's at 2 a.m. on Medium. I'm only at 2. One's about coffee. One's about this. But there is something to be said for your social circle, for your tribe, whatever that is, about just showing up for the events. The major ones, the minor ones. You don't have to bring a gift. You don't have to stay the whole time. You don't have to be a loudmouth in the stands, right? Just being there showing up and letting them know that you're giving them that piece of your time is massive in the development of relationships. And it goes even further with your own kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's I'm going to step off the soapbox and
Yeah,
let everybody else jump in.
I kind of wanted to talk. All right. So one trap that I fall into is for a time, especially, it was, I always felt like I needed to have like that aha moment with like my kids, right? Like being there to be like, oh, you caught your first bass. I taught him that. You finally discovered how to, take apart, dismantle this engine, or all this stuff, or I taught him how to hit a baseball that far. Just like kind of like these moments, right, that you have with your kids, like this aha moment. And in my head, I always feel like I'm supposed to bring something like that to the table to create these lasting memories. And sometimes where like there are these weekends where I'm just like thinking like, what can we do? What water park can I take him to? What Six Flags thing can I take him? What's like a big thing? And
what
I just
memory can I create?
Right, exactly. And then I feel like I don't have an aha moment, right? And I just kind of exhaust myself. And then I just like, as a response, I'm like, I don't know. You guys just go play with your Legos, and I just kind of like fall flat. Or if I'm not doing something high, I'm just like completely absent, and I'm just doing something low because I'm not providing that like aha big moment. And I think I fall into that trap when in actuality, they don't need the aha moment, right? Their childhood can be built off of consistency, constantly just being there, right? You don't even have to talk. You don't have to bring these giant moments to the table. They can have huge childhood memories just from your presence. And it's an undervalued thing, but it's a very important thing. And I feel like I don't appreciate that about myself. The fact that I am there, I am there coaching Henry's team. I am there like playing, or sometimes not even playing. I'm just sitting there. There while they're bringing me fake food to chew on, like felt lettuce on a pizza. Like on
it's
wood
delicious.
Pizza, right? Oh, it's great. But like to me, that's not an aha moment, but to them, it actually is.
One of the most underrated things that I think I've learned about parenting is just being in the same space as your kids and just watching them.
Yes.
Just watching them do whatever it is they're going to do and being curious about it, not interrupting, not necessarily asking questions, just watching them interact and be kids. Like those are the things that I remember. And I know because I feel the same way, Andrew. Like I get stuck a lot thinking, and we do this a lot. Like our family loves to travel. We go on trips. We're always looking for like, what are we going to do this weekend? What's the activity? What's the memory we're going to make?
That Disney moment.
Right, exactly. And the other day, my wife and I were, my son was with my son went with my mom, so with grandma for overnight. So it was just me, my wife, and our daughter. We don't get a ton of one-on-one time with our littlest one because we're all together all the time. And we were kind of getting in like a little bit of a, not an argument, but just like a little friction trying to figure out what we were going to do for the day. And it's like, well, let's look for a fall festival. Let's look for this. Let's look for that. And finally, we just parked the car and we're like, there's stuff that we want to do as adults, right? We want to go grab some lunch. We want to go get some coffee. We want to walk around some shops. That's it. She's just going to be a passenger. She's going to come with us and just spend the time and enjoy the things that we enjoy. And it was one of the most enjoyable afternoons we've had in a long time. And it was just simply being together, watching her explore stuff as we walked around different shops, watching her point to things, dogs out the window as we're getting coffee. Today she stayed home sick, but she felt a little bit better. And there was this point where she kind of came around the corner. She's been like really silly lately. And she looks over and I'm sitting on the floor, like typing on my computer. And she comes over and she leans over my shoulder and just looks me like 2 inches from my face and just gives me this big, like squishy grin and goes, "Hi." And I was like, oh, okay. And it's like, it's those moments that I feel like the most in love and engaged with my kids. Whereas when we go places, we do these big trips, they're great and they're fun.
Yeah.
But there's so much happening around you that you actually start to kind of miss that connection. And it's only when you stop when you're doing those things, like when we go to Disney World and my kid is sitting on my shoulders and we're watching fireworks. Those are the moments that I remember. Like the rides are fun, the experience is cool, but it's those moments where everything stops and we're just focused on something together.
Yeah.
That it feels like it really matters. And like all you've been doing kind of comes to that sort of simple moment.
Right. And you know,
Right.
I was actually talking to a guy about this in our community, and he was, you know, a little bit more vulnerable because he was just like, you know, to boil it down, like they're not the most financially well off, you know, they don't have a ton, and he feels like he's doing a disservice to a family because he can't afford these big, like I was saying, these big Disney moments. Seeing people travel, they're going up to Broken Bow, Oklahoma, they're doing all these things. Like, I was just on that spot to like get that, you know, give that to our kids right now. And I think it's a really important message to understand that, like, of course, everyone wants to make those kinds of memories for their kids, but it isn't needed. And you shouldn't feel less than because
Right.
you can't hit those goals or those achievements that you want to set for your kids, right? So it really does speak to the fact that, you know, you're there, you're present. These things, again, they're super undervalued, but there's evidence and research that suggests that your presence and that consistency of you being an active a part of your family has huge implications on your child's development, developing social skills, emotional intelligence. There's so many positives just for being there, not from, you know, taking your kids to whatever vacation in Hawaii or whatever. Right. I mean, those things are great. We all want that. Right. But it's at the end of the day, those, while they are memories, aren't going to define, you know, how your kids develop or how they perceive you. I think that the presence and just showing up speaks volumes. You want to round it back to you, Sounders, the one who kicked us off here.
So I think, as dumb as this sounds, right? I think Trace Atkins sums this up very nicely in the song Just Fishin', because he talks about sitting in a rowboat with his daughter fishing. Maybe it's his granddaughter. I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's his daughter, I guess. And she's talking about her cat. She's talking about her ballet shoes. She's talking about everything. She could care less that they're fishing. But he gets to the point where he says, she doesn't even know what's really going on right now, right? And she thinks we're just fishing, but that's not what's happening, right? She is creating a relationship with her father or her grandfather in this song, in that moment, and she doesn't even know it's happening because they're just present there together in that moment, right? And I don't care if you like country or not, go listen to the song once, see if you cry. It very much plays into this idea that you don't have to go crazy. And I think it again, like, it works well with your kids, works great with your kids. It works with everybody, right? And I think we've all had somebody do this, right? You're at some random event and one of your friends just shows up and you're like, what are you doing here? Like, well, you put it on Facebook. And so I just showed up and I thought I'd hang out with you for a while, right? And you're like, wow, that was really nice of them, right? And at some point they get up and they leave. And you're like, wait, why did you come? Like, because I wanted to spend time with you, right? And it's, even as an adult, it's a great thing to do and it doesn't cost you anything but time that you're not spending in front of Facebook or YouTube or the television or anything else, right? And I think that's kind of the key here. Is it not only is it great for your kids, but it's also great for your wife. It's great for your mom, your dad, your aunts and uncles, right? How many songs are there about, if I only got to spend a little bit more time with my dad? Or you know, I mean, again, I think what we're really trying to get to is, it's very inexpensive, but it costs the most, or it the return on the
I
return
know
on
what you're saying.
investment over time is amazing, right? The ROI on this is
Yes.
is through the roof.
Yeah, and it costs very little.
You're never gonna wish you had less time with someone you loved,
right.
like ever.
Right.
I mean, that is,
and frankly,
friend, family, whatever.
You show up to a high schoolers football game every year for a season through every losing game. I guarantee you, when you're ready to move, they're going to help pack the U-Haul. Just throwing that out there.
And I think as men in general, I think it's in our nature to really try to like problem solve and troubleshoot, especially problems of our family. But like, you hinted at this as well, Andrew. Like when it comes to like our wives and all that, like there's some times where like she wants to vent and has issues and problems, and I like want to solve them, but like my role isn't to like solve them. It's just to just sit and listen and actually not speak and just like hold her. And I think the same applies to our kids as well. Like, we don't have to be there to like know everything, have all the answers, and troubleshoot everything for them and problem solve. Like we're kind of feel like we have to default to. It's all right to just kind of just sit there and be like, just listen. Just
one
listen.
One of the best things in the world is we've had so much fun with my son. So I worked for Apple for years, right, at the Genius Bar, and like
what a flex!
Like
man.
one of the
whip your dick out.
I know,
slap it
right?
on the table.
One of the things that we used to say all the time is there's this one phrase, and it's "I don't know, let's find out." Right? So a customer walks in, they have a problem, you don't know the answer to, you say, "I don't know, let's find out." Try that with your kids when they ask, because they're going to ask you a million questions all the time. You don't always have to have the answer. You don't have to have a reason for it. And you can just say, I don't know, let's find out. And just let yourself get lost in the figuring out of the problem. And don't necessarily lead them, just let them lead. Let them figure it out. Let them have a hypothesis and try to test it. At that point, you're present, you're there, you're engaged. You might know the answer. You might know, I could just look this up on my phone in 2 seconds. But the process of doing that is what's going to build that bond with your kids, with your spouse, whatever, right? You don't know the answer. Let's figure it out together. It's partnership. It's going into that knowing I don't know everything. You don't know everything, but we can figure it out because we're here together and we're focused.
Yeah. My boys, Henry and Colin, they ask, they're kids that are 5 and 7. So like everyone else, they ask so many questions. And one thing that I always default to is, what do you think? Anytime. And I just kind of flip the question back over to them because I'm so conditioned to just like answering. Like, why is it like this? Because it does this. Why is it X like Y? Well, because Z. But like when I just flip it around, I'm like, well, why do you think X is like Y? Well, and then it kind of gets their gears going. I'm like, yeah, that's right. You can think through that, and just kind of lets them think through it and lets them process things. And I've learned that like flipping the question back on them as opposed to just outright answering is actually really helpful for them and a lot more fun for me to listen to. A lot easier for me too.
To be the repository of all knowledge. What are you talking about? I have daughters, man. All right, when they have questions, they got to come. That way, they're not looking it up on their own.
Well, that'll do it for this episode. And again, thanks to Huckberry for sponsoring the podcast as well as the Dad Verb YouTube channel. We already gave him a shout out at the very beginning when I did the little snafu. And to be frank, I completely forgot we did that, so I'm not going to do it again.
Ben, will there be a link below? Is there going to be a link in the show?
There will be a series of letters and numbers somewhere below this video.
Okay, all right.
Well, you guys for listening. Come back for the next one. We'll catch you later. Happy fatherhood, guys.